And welcome everybody for this quick demonstration and tutorial how to create rigid body simulation that will ignite the starting of smoke simulation. We will not talk about Pyro or any combustion, only smoke simulation. And this one we have two kind of sim. First one with the breakage of this RBD geometry, and the other one with the object itself hit the ground and create the shock wave or the reaction of the hit area. This is smoke. So you have another look. So because all this crane is full of dust, so this is the dust. And I'm still in the rendering process in REDSHIFT. So let's go to the scene. So this is the scene. Let's go to the first frame. I already disabled the simulation for better view. Control G, and this is our crane. As you can see, low poly bars, and if you press S and 9, S and 9, S. Why it's not responding again? I need to go inside. So S and 9, as you can see, we can have the 3D connectivity for each piece. Okay, so we took this geometry. I didn't use mantra, I went with REDSHIFT. So we go up, and this one is disabled, imported in here. This is the main setup. This is the file fpx. Control G. I make it smaller, approximately 25 meter height. So these are the pieces. After that, I added connectivity sub and implemented the class on the primitive. So in the primitive I have the class for each polygon. After that I created a for each, or you can also use for each connected pieces. It will create this also automatically for you for the class. Okay, so what I did, because if I add a delete for one of the geometry here, let's choose this one, delete, and delete non-selected. Control G. It's an open face, as you can see. So this will affect the simulation also, and have a lot of error. So what I did, I added the for each loop and Control G, like this one. I added a polyfill, so the wire is capped like this instance. So here all of the geometry is closed and water sealed. Okay, which make it ready for simulation. I added assembly, so I have I didn't create back primitive, so I have name attribute that get ready for the RBD fracturing. In the RBD fracture I didn't fracture any. I just want HDA or this node to prepare the geometry for me to be ready for the RBD simulation. Then I went and I created RBD constraint from rule, and the rule is I want all, and I call it a connection or a connector. So I have this rule. As you can see, all of this constraint prepared. Then I went and I created RBD constraint property. I used the connector tag. I make it as a glue with 1000 strength, and the propagation I experimented it and went back to the default of 1. Then in the RBD solver I didn't change anything. only I created, if I go here to the side, I created this box, Ctrl G, and I make it animate in the position and in the scale, so it disappears. And I connect it to this input, the collision geometry, and here I make sure it's a deformed static object. So if we have a look, Ctrl G. Anyway, I cache it here, Ctrl G. Let's use one of the cameras, this one, and display it. So it will fall down. So it's reading from the hard disk. Very cool. And because it's a faraway shot, I didn't go and make a connection and make it soft connection, so it bend or make these pieces to bend or fracture, because it's just from far away, like from this camera or this one. So it's a far away shot. Okay. After that, I wanted to create the smoke that will emit when the geometry start to deassemble and fall apart, because it will be full of dust. So I have an out geometry, and here I went and added the debris source, this node. So it's connected here, and in the debris source you can play with the setting, how much density particle you want, the maximum points, and you can export some of these attribute to adjust more. I think because I cancel the simulation, because this is a simulation. Set simulation, display it. Just one thing before that, you go up to the Pyro and make sure nothing is affecting. So you go back to the box, display it through. So as you can see, it will detect where the collision start with the RBD pieces and create this initiation of the particles. So we'll stop here and view it according to the velocity, rotation, age. So you have many parameters you can play with, and this is according to the color ramp of the age. Okay, after that I went and so I just cached some of the collision and the debris source, and you can see here I'm having this collision because the base was moving with the head. So I added a box, and the box is being animated. So when it starts to move and fall, I remove it. Okay, then I created a trail. So the trail will create particle according to the path. They will have the same ID number. So I have extra more details when I go to the Pyro. So let's see one of the cameras. Take this one. Yeah. So it's enough for the Pyro to work with. Time blend. So I use the interpolation just to make it not stepping. Okay, and increase from step to 4, so I don't have gaps in between. Then I went and created Pyro source. So this is the Pyro source, and I went with 0.25. Let's make it 0.1 for demonstration. If you play through it, so these are the particle. I played with the velocity also, enable some blur in the direction and length, and volume rasterize attribute. And after that we created the billowy smoke. Ground is activated as close below, and the fields and shapes I played with it, and I added wind for realism. Because this one should start at frame 1. Let's go back. So this is the render phase with only this smoke as one of the versions. Only the smoke from the dust when it fall apart. See, no smoke or dust coming from the collision with the ground. This one is added in the second phase. We'll talk about the REDSHIFT render just in a moment. Okay, so I didn't use the Pyro lock because I went with REDSHIFT. So here it's being cached. So this is one of the frames. Nice trail, especially with the lighting, because you need here a light, which I have in HDRI for dome light. Very cool. Okay, so this is the first phase. The second phase is the Pyro ground. So here we imported the ground, we imported the crane, the simulated crane, the one that fall apart. Then I color it with red, so I have a value of 1 on the sidefx. I wanted to remove the small pieces, but at the end I didn't use it. I went with the color. So anything above 0.5 keep, below 0.5 remove. So I have only the big pieces that will be able to participate in emitting the smoke. On the other side, I created a grid that compensate the area that the crane will fall onto. So if I drag this one and add this one here, so this is where the crane with the red color. So because I give here black, and I increase the partition. So here I can see the transfer of the color red and the velocity also. So if we play it through, we can just select a couple of frames. So I have this red area that I want to keep. So I deleted everything. I'm keeping only the red area. These are the one, and also I'm deleting the base, and I went to pop. It would have two pop net here. So the first one, I want to have the group hit attribute. I want to get from this network only the hit when it hit the ground. Okay, here I was trying to keep only whatever point that is having a hit value of 1 to be kept in a group hit total that I can use also, and I have a different color for it. So if we play through it, and I'm starting on frame 85 because before that nothing was reaching the floor. So these are the area. Let's stop. So the green is being in the hit group, and the red is the particles themselves, and they are living for a very short time. So I'm only interested with the green group. That's the hit. Okay. So I went out, and I'm keeping only the hit group, removing anything else. So these are the groups. So these are the starting point for my ground simulation of the dust. So I took them again and I added them to another pop network, and I'm replicating them, importing them. Source is the point, impulse count 250. I don't want to go crazy because I did it's a sim of a smoke, and I'm inheriting that the previous attribute of the velocity, and I'm increasing it, going more random, and pop replicate only 50 per second, and they are living for a short time, and they are inheriting the velocity of their parents, and they are also hitting the ground. So if you have a look, also starting at frame 85. So I have a volume that I can start with to do the Pyro sim. I can add book force to it and make it go around, but that's optional. You can do it. After that, I went to the Pyro source. So I'm grabbing these points, adjusting their velocity, playing with it, and this is the volume. And here, let me just make it 2 so it's faster. Same setting for the Pyro here and smoke there. So this is when it's played out, with only one difference I will show you now. I must point here. So if you look at it, so there's some other force is affecting it also. We choose one of the cameras. So just run for a few frames. See this one. So what's going on is something related to this. And what is this? This is the crane. This crane, I convert it to a VDB, and I am converting also its velocity. Okay, so if you look here, we have the surface and we have the velocity that we want to use. So you go inside the Pyro sim, you have here either you can use bob advect by volume, or you can use directly a volume source and point to that null. It's not the density, we want the velocity as a vector, and we are targeting the velocity, and I am multiplying the scale 10 times, and I'm using bolt, so it's not swift or quick move, it will take time. Because if I make it, let's say the default will be add, and let's play it and see how it will look. It will be chaotic. So it's a rapid expansion. See? Which is also nice, but I went with a bolt for something more smooth. Yeah, the bolt. Also I make the direction strength to 1. After that I cache it. Let's have a look at one of the frames. Each frame about 1.5 to 2 giga for this cell. Not that much, but the size is big. Okay, and I apply it a material for it. We'll talk about material now. So let's take this frame. So we have this frame. Let's go to one of the cameras. So this camera, for instance, here in the material. So this material only for the ground, nothing fancy. Reflection, should remove the reflection or make it very rough. This one for the crane, this color. Same thing for this one, copy paste. On the other side, for the first smoke, I use volume, so this one is not needed. I added RS volume and I increase the coefficient to 1.5 for the density, and I give it this color. And the absorption also I increase it, and in the advanced the maximum I went to 1000, so I have more volume to read more from the pixel. Same thing I added to the smoke here. This one is not needed, but with slightly darker color because it's near to the ground. And if we look here, let's give it a second. So let's choose one of the, which camera did we use? Camera 1. We choose camera 1. And let's render it. So this is the render output up to now with REDSHIFT. See, two kind of smoke. So thank you very much for the support. Have a nice day.